I want to bring into the conversation right now our friend there, former federal prosecutor and legal analyst himself, Neama Rahmani. He joins me. Neama, good to see you here. And we're about to put up part of the statement, part of the resignation letter from Danielle Sassoon. This was addressed to the new Attorney General, Pam Bondi. But I got to ask your thoughts. Is this, in Sassoon's assertion, a quid pro quo? Do you agree with that?
Andrew, I agree with Danielle Sassoon. And we talked about how extraordinary this was a few days ago, where the Deputy Attorney General is saying, we're not going to prosecute the mayor of New York because he's helping us with policy initiatives, immigration enforcement. Well, that's not a reason to make a legal decision, and something that we have never seen before. And obviously, Danielle Sassoon took this one step further, saying this was a quid pro quo. This was explicitly discussed in the meeting where Eric Adams's lawyer said, we will help you with immigration enforcement. And Emile Beau talked about a prisoner swap. If you haven't read it, I encourage everyone to read Sassoon's 8-page letter. Not only did she resign, the acting head of the public integrity section resigned, the acting head of the criminal division resigned. This is a sad day for the Department of Justice.
Okay, let's put up some of this letter. I'm going to read it. This was Sassoon's letter to Attorney General Bondi. She says, on February 10th, 2025, I received a memorandum from Acting Deputy Attorney General Emile Beau directing me to dismiss the indictment against Mayor Eric Adams without prejudice, subject to certain conditions, which would require leave of court. I do not repeat here the evidence against Adams that proves beyond a reasonable doubt that he committed federal crimes. Mr. Beau rightly has never called into question that the case team conducted this investigation with integrity and that the charges against Adams are serious and supported by fact and law. She says, Beauvais' memo, however, which directs me to dismiss an indictment returned by a duly constituted grand jury for reasons having nothing to do with the strength of the case, raises serious concerns that render the contemplated dismissal inconsistent with my ability and duty to prosecute federal crimes without fear or favor and to advance good faith arguments before the court. Is this a plain and simple example of a federal prosecutor, you're a former federal prosecutor yourself, resigning on principle here?
Absolutely. And the senator said it best in her tweet. This isn't some liberal. This is one of Justice Scalia's clerks, a member of the Federalist Society. This was someone who was tasked with being the acting U.S. attorney until the Senate confirmed U.S. attorney can take over. This is someone who has a stellar record. She was responsible for taking down Sam Bankman-Fried. And when you have decisions seemingly made by the Justice Department at the highest level for political reasons and not based on the facts and the law, I understand why career prosecutors would take offense to this. This is not the oath that they took to handle cases because of political favor. So she did the principled thing, and I think history will look back upon Sassoon as a principled lawyer, and I think she has an excellent career ahead of her, whatever path she ends up choosing.
So what happens to the Adams indictment? Because it's not official yet. It hasn't been dismissed, and you told me on Tuesday night, I believe, that it will only be official when a federal judge signs off on it. Could a federal judge, after hearing our conversation, looking at all the reporting over the past couple of days, could he nix it?
Theoretically, yes, but practically speaking, no. There's very little a federal judge can do to make this case move forward. And the most recent example that this came up was another political prosecution dismissal, and it was Michael Flynn. And if folks remember, a district judge in D.C. took offense to the Department of Justice dismissing that case. That was when Bill Barr was Attorney General. And that district judge, I think it was Judge Sullivan, tried to prevent the dismissal. But ultimately, this is the prerogative of the Attorney General and the executive branch. And it's a separation of powers issue. A judge cannot insist that a prosecution go forward. That case went up on appeal, I believe, and the D.C. Circuit said, Judge Sullivan, you need to dismiss the case, and that's ultimately what happened there.
All right, we still have to follow this story. It seems like it's moving quite fast. You know, say the pick Trump wants to fill this vacancy now at the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District of New York. His name, Jay Clayton. Once he gets confirmed by the Senate, how do you think he'll approach this? Because remember, the door is still left open, say, after the mayoral election, that some prosecutors, if there's any left in the office, might revisit this. Do you think Clayton will do that or no?
I don't think so. Clayton obviously has his own storied career, chairperson at the SEC, doesn't have a lot of prosecution experience that we can draw from, but he is going to take his orders from Pam Bondi and President Trump. This case, even though theoretically can be refiled, it is not going to be refiled. If it was, if Sassoon thought we're just going to wait until the primary or we're just going to wait until after the mayoral election and we're going to restart this case, she would not have issued the blistering letter that she did. For all intents and purposes, Andrew, this case is dead in the water. Eric Adams, for better or worse, curried favor with President Trump, and his lawyers did a masterful job, maybe not based on the facts and the law, but horse trading to get this indictment dismissed. I do not think it will be refiled.
All right. Neama Rahmani, as always, can't thank you enough. I know you got to go. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, Andrew. I'm sure we'll talk more about this.